All right, welcome back for my second video right in a row. You guys will have to wait a day for this one, but I just finished recording the sovereign citizen video. Don't know what I'm going to title it yet, but it's featuring our old friend Wurzel Gummidge. So if you haven't watched it yet, go watch it. It's interesting to say the least. But today we have a video from Old Squishy Gardener. Go subscribe to him if you haven't. I'm sure you have, since he's got 103,000 subs. So congratulations, OSG. You certainly have earned that. And from OSG, we are returning to St. Joe County, Michigan, and Judge Middleton. And OSG's video is titled Beware Bailing Out Family. It might bite you in the arse. And I have seen this one about a week ago, I think. So no spoilers, but let's jump into it.
And we have a representative at J&J Bail Bonds of Grand Rapids. Good afternoon, sir. Can you hear me?
Good afternoon. Yes, sir, I can.
What's your name?
Roland, Roland, last name Johnson.
And what's your position with J&J Bail Bonds?
Manager.
The defendant in that case is Sharon Street, posting a bond on behalf of Kybron Street, who I think is back in jail now. This is interesting, Mr. Johnson. I haven't had a case like this in years. When COVID hit, the bail companies quit looking for the defendant, at least the ones posting here, and nothing ever happened. And we forfeited some bonds and attempted to forfeit some, and I think they just figured it was cost of doing business. So in this case, it's interesting that the bonding company is actually going after the surety for posting the bond, because for a time, Judge Patterson was really frustrated. There was no consequence for someone failing to appear.
So let's look at that. So basically, this is the danger of standing surety for someone for their bond. So what's the process for getting a bond? Well, the Judge Middleton here, let's say he gives a $2,000 bond. I don't know what it is in this case. It's probably said in a bit, but let's just hypothetically $2,000 cash bond, cash or surety. So you can pay to the court treasury. It'll probably go to the court clerk or whatever. It depends on the court, but you can pay $2,000 cash, and that's saying I promise to appear in court every time and not violate any of the conditions of my pretrial release. And if I do all of that at the end of the case, win or lose, I can go in and get that $2,000 back, short of any fees or fines or whatever. You often hear Judge Middleton say to defendants, well, you owe me such and such amount of money, but you paid this much cash bond, so I'm going to subtract that, and so you still owe me this much, or now subtracting that, I owe you the remainder of the bond, whatever. So that's how cash bond works. But surety, this is the bail bonds. And so generally it's going to be 10%. So I give $200 to the bail bond company, and they either put the $1,800 remainder to the court and get $2,000. Well, you know, they back up. I pay them $200. They put that plus the $1,800, so $2,000 to the court, and get the whole amount back at the end of the case, and you just don't get the $200 back. And this could be a little different depending on which court, which bail bond company, whatever. It doesn't matter. But generally, the idea is that 200 is the payment so that you get out of jail. You just don't get it back, but generally your time is worth it. If let's say you've got $1 million bail, losing that $100,000 might not be worth it. But either way, it's a good deal for the court too, because if you don't show up, they don't have to send deputies out to get you. They say, hey, bail bond, you go out and get them, or the bond is forfeited and you lose money. And so it's worth it for them to go out and have their bounty hunters pay them $200 or $300 or whatever, and say, go out and get them and bring them in. And by the way, the Fourth Amendment doesn't apply, so have fun, and drag them into court so that they don't lose the bond. Well, it might be in the contract saying, hey, if you don't show up, the cost of dragging you into court, you've got to pay it. Or if we forfeit the bond, you pay us. And so what will frequently happen is, sometimes my signature and $200, that's good enough. But sometimes, let's say I have terrible credit. Let's say they just don't trust me. They're going to say, that'll be $200 and someone standing surety. So basically they're saying, go out and get a cosigner. Go out and get someone who has assets, who has a house or whatever, and have them sign. And if you don't come in, they owe us money. That's what happened here. Kybron's mom now owes the money because he didn't show up. And he's in jail on brand new charges. Hopefully she learned her lesson and doesn't bail him out this time. But let's keep going.
If I can get this other lady to turn on her microphone and her camera, we'll address that, and we'll wait and see whether Mrs. Street is going to show up. Tricia Mauser, can you turn on your camera and your microphone? All right, Mr. Johnson, would you please raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm any testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true to the best of your knowledge and belief?
I do.
Let me check with the bailiffs to make sure Miss Street is not here. I'm looking for Sharon Street. All right, thanks. All right, thank you. This is a claim for $1,250. It's alleged that Miss Street filed as a surety for a bond for her son Kybron Street. That's spelled K-H-Y-B-R-E-N. And apparently he forfeited a bond. Mr. Johnson, what's the status of this?
Oh, okay. Yeah, it was lodged on about October 2nd. But going back to the claim is on or about July 4th of 2023, went to the contract with Miss Sharon Street on a $5,000 bond to get her son Kybron out of jail.
So $5,000 bond, presumably someone paid $500 to J&J Bonds. They might have paid $1,000. I don't know. It's generally it's going to be 10%, but sometimes it's 5, sometimes it's 15 or 20. But I'm going to say they paid $500 to J&J Bonds. They're asking for, what was it, $1,600? That's a whole lot more. But at the same time, that's less than the $4,500 difference between the $5,000 bond and $500 payment to J&J Bonds. So that shows they're not asking for the $4,500. They're asking for their expenses.
So she signed a contract guaranteeing his appearance in court. Unfortunately, it looks like around July 17 of 2023, we were notified that he failed to appear on our $5,000 bond.
That's 2 weeks. 2 weeks it takes him to fail to appear. He didn't even pretend to care about court.
I had been in contact with Miss Street on a regular basis for around 3 weeks, and then she just stopped answering her phone call or responding to the mail.
So that's 2 weeks for him to decide not to care, and within 5 weeks of signing this contract, Mom said, "Nuts to you."
We had to end up sending a recovery team out to go look for Mr. Street, and she's been assessed the fees involved for him missing court and for the recovery team.
Well, I'm gratified to know a recovery team was actually looking. Here she is now. I hate.
I'd like to see the breakdown of the costs for that recovery team, just out of curiosity, because I've never seen one before.
This when people are late. 7 minutes late. No, she's not connected, and I think she's driving.
I'm going to see if we can maybe get in.
All right. Well, here she is. Miss Street, can you hear me?
Barely.
Well, that's on you, not on me. Where are you? Mr. Godden, people always have the right to come to court like the old days, and people actually come here. So I appreciate your being here on time and in a timely manner. I allow people to do small claims by Zoom, which is certainly more convenient for Mr. Johnson, but we have a lot of technical problems.
And that's so ridiculous. So I've been late for court before, but really one time is because I misread the docket and thought it was in the Farmington District Court, but it was Bountiful District Court. That one was on me. Luckily, the judge didn't tear me too big of a new asshole. But one of the benefits of Zoom court is there's no commute time. You can get on. And for attorneys, like I prefer being in court. And I've discussed this before. Like, I prefer to be standing next to my client so that if they start talking, I can elbow them and say, "Shut the hell up." Whispered, of course. I can't do that over Zoom. I don't have the mute button for them. If they go off, they can sink the case. It's bad. But I like dealing with people in person generally. But one of the benefits of Zoom is, let's say I have a case in Farmington District Court at 2:00, and I have a case in West Jordan District Court at 2:00. And I'm talking calendar appearances, not like an evidentiary hearing or something, just the cattle call calendar appearance. Well, I show up to one and do my absolute best to be first in line at 2 o'clock. And then I drive as fast as I can without getting caught down to West Jordan. And that's a 35, 40-minute drive, and court might be over. They might have called my case, and hopefully my client will stand up and say, yeah, he's on his way. He had another hearing. That generally works, at least for the calendar calls. But one of the benefits of Zoom court is, for attorneys at least, if I can have both windows open, and if it looks like it's getting close to them calling my case, I can type in the chat and say, I'm in this hearing right now. I'll be there in a few minutes. Now, some judges are gonna lose their shit over that, but most won't, because they understand. They were lawyers too once. But it boggles my mind that people think that court is something that you can multitask, that you can drive during court, that you don't have to be on time for court. It's aggravating. You can tell it's aggravating me.
Because people struggle with the technology.
Right. That's why I wanted to be here in person.
Well, I appreciate it. So she's out in virtual limbo, and Tricia Mauser is in virtual limbo. I don't know if she can hear us.
I can hear you now.
All right. Are you driving a car?
I'm parked. I'm sitting at a.
All right, you're
Thank
late. We've been waiting for 8 minutes for you to show up. And so we actually started the hearing. It was scheduled at 3 o'clock, not 3:08. Mr. Roland Johnson is here from J&J Bail Bonds. I can't see you, but I can hear you. Would you please raise your right hand?
I have my right hand raised, but I don't know why you can't see me. It says
Well,
my
your
video.
camera is frozen. All right. Do you swear or affirm any testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true to the best of your knowledge and belief? Ms. Street, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
All right. This is very frustrating. Your signal keeps bopping in and out, and your video feed is not very good. Where are you?
I'm in Nottawa, sitting at the gas station
Why don't you just drive to the courthouse?
because I have to be in Minden at the elementary school at 3:30.
Okay. Well, Mr. Johnson claims you owe $1,000.
I agree with OSG here. Don't multitask. If you need to pick up your kids, have someone else do it. What's the saying? No man is an island. It takes a village. It's have someone. You obviously you can't have Kybron go pick up his little brother and sister. He's in jail. But if you've got court, go to court. Don't go pick up the kids with the side of court. It doesn't work. You're gonna have a bad time, and the judge is gonna have a bad time, and that's gonna make your time worse. I mean, you can tell Judge Middleton is civil, but he's pissed.
$1,250 for Kybron failing to appear in his circuit court case, and they had to send a recovery team out to get him. What's your response to that?
Well, they didn't send a recovery team out to get him. He was arrested by 3 Rivers Police Department for something else.
That doesn't mean they didn't send a recovery team. That means they sent a recovery team that didn't manage to find him. They still spent the money.
So it's
Well, they
recovery
sent a
team.
recovery team to find him, but they couldn't find him and you had signed as surety. Yeah, he got arrested, I think, October 2nd. So he's asking that I order that amount of money. What's your response?
I don't really have a,
At least you're here barely, late and barely, but I find after trial,
Barely.
there is real no defense. It is what it is. You owe $1,250, $63.50.
Whoa. OSG. Not a leg to stand on. Not cool. Not cool, man. Unfortunately for you guys, I'm wearing my leg right now, so you don't get any cheap sight gags, but not cool.
For a total judgment of $1,313.50. Stated today's date. Are you still at the East State Street address?
yes, I am.
Can you make any sort of monthly payment on that?
I can try.
How much? Can you pay $100 per month?
No,
All right, I'll just leave the judgment as it is. Are you employed someplace?
yes, I am.
Where do you work? Okay,
Not
Well-
for T-Mobile.
you know what the collection practice is. You can, I guess, garnish her wages. She's not willing to do $100 a month. When
I
people
don't
post
mind
a
doing
bond for somebody,
$100, but I barely can feed my kids. My
All right.
mortgage,
If you can't feed your kids, you should have let the criminal kid sit. I mean, you bailing him out, while I'm sure he appreciated it, he didn't appreciate it enough to show up and take it seriously. He didn't appreciate it enough to not pick up new charges within 3 months. I mean, because if my math is right, it's 3 months to the day from when she signed the contract that he was arrested again. I don't know what the new charges are. I don't know what the charges are in this one, but it doesn't matter. If you are struggling to feed your kids, let the adult child sit in jail eating meals. At least you don't have to feed him then. At least he's not taking food out of your other children's mouths. It sucks. He might hate you for it, but sometimes it's not even that it's tough love. It's that if you don't have the ability, it's your only choice. Or like I said, drag him into court. You guaranteed he'd be there. Drag him in. Problem is, then you don't actually have the legal ability to do so. Of course, you could have called J&J bail bonds and said, "Hey, he's not going to show up. He's here at my house right now. Come get him." That saves you money. But
is just 2 months behind.
all right, well, this
I don't
is
even have
on,
enough to
this
live.
is on Kybron. He put you in this position. You signed as a surety for him. J&J bail bonds guaranteed that he would show up. He didn't show up, and then you signed a contract that says if he doesn't show up, he can go after you. And so if I were to have him in here, I'd give him a little advice. But he's left you owing $1,313.50. So I guess I'll just leave it at that. Mr. Johnson, would you accept something less than $100?
No, I would not.
All right. All right, Miss Street, you have,
And that's it. He doesn't have to accept a payment plan. The Judge Middleton is trying to do her a solid. He's trying to say, hey, if she's able to pay $100 a month, are you willing to drag collections out 13 months? And if he says no, I want the full thing up front. Well, that's the judgment. Of course, you can't get blood from a stone, so he's gonna have to try to collect. And as I'm sure you all know, sometimes that's the hardest part of a lawsuit is if someone's judgment proof, and what are you gonna get? He's gonna probably put a garnishment on her paycheck, which, you know, there's limits of what percentage you can garnish, if you can even garnish, and it's going to take a while. But doing it this way, as long as she's working and isn't job hopping, J&J bail bonds is going to hopefully get paid, but it's going to suck for Sharon Street because she's not going to collect it from Kybron. But the garnishment, hey, that comes out first because the employer pays that out of their wages. You know, my mom works HR and does payroll, and she absolutely loves doing garnishments because they're such a pain in her ass.
you have 21 days to pay that. If you don't pay it, they can pursue other collection remedies.
One of my checks is not even that much
Okay.
to pay it in 21 days.
Well, I don't expect you to pay it in 21 days. I expect that they're gonna try to collect by garnishing your wages or doing other collection action. But Kybron's not in a position to pay it right now, but he's the one that put you in this position. All right, you're free to go. You got kids to pick up.
All right, thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you to OSG. You know, it's wonderful that he scrapes the court streams and does all the editing. But yeah, I don't understand. She wasn't as bad as some, but she seemed to be copying such an attitude when I get it. It sucks. But she's the one that guaranteed he'd show up. She signed the contract. So why are you so pissy about having to pay the contract? And it sucks. It sucks for everyone except maybe Kybron, because you know he got 3 months of freedom. But either way, so yeah, take OSG's legal advice, not mine, because I don't give legal advice. But beware bailing out family; it just might bite you in the arse. So thanks for joining me. Do all the YouTubey things, like, share, subscribe. Do the same for OSG, and I will see you soon. Bye-bye.